Welcome back. And this week I want to talk about career progression and actually managing your career. Now, if this isn't something that you think is relevant for you or for you right now, why don't you think of someone who you could share this with? Because I'm going to give you some really useful little tips on how you might think about managing your career and managing your progression. So, as I say, share it if you don't think this is just, right for you. So, over many, many years of coaching, and particularly coaching women, one of the things, if you were to ask me, what is the one word that really stands out in terms of, what are we lacking? What don't we do enough of? And it would be proactivity. So being proactive, and particularly in our careers and managing our careers, this has cropped up time after time. I call it staking your claim, right? It's like if you see an opportunity at work, now it could be working with a different team, it could be being relocated somewhere, either in the same country or abroad. It could be working on different projects, working even, maybe having a secondment or something. Whatever the opportunity, a lot of women I have coached are just a little hesitant. There isn't that sort of, wanting to grasp it or really take it. It's almost as if they're waiting for someone to give them permission. And I'm like, go grab it. Because if you don't, someone else will. So I'm giving you permission, but you need to give yourself permission too, right? So it could be an existing opportunity that crops up. And I had this many, many years ago when I worked for a headhunting firm in London, and they were going to open up an office in Hong Kong. I never thought they'd have an opportunity like that. I managed to corner the guy that headed the firm, and I took my opportunity and I said to him, look, if you're looking for someone to go, I'll be up for it. I thought, I'm going to get in there first. And I went, and I had an amazing time. So existing opportunities, I really urge you to think about, don't hesitate. Just go and stake your claim. But also opportunities that might not exist right now. So this is all about thinking, can I create an opportunity? Can I actually create something for myself or my team or my organization that actually doesn't exist at the moment? So don't think necessarily if something isn't there now that it couldn't be if you created it, whether it's, it could be building a new part of the business, a new piece of strategy, something else that the team could do that doesn't exist right now, but you can create it. You won't do your brand any harm by coming up with creative ideas. So have a think about that. Are there any areas, that you want to get into that you need to talk to someone about? You think, I wish I could do more of this, or I'd like to do more of that. Don't leave it as a wish or a want. Find the right person, go and grab them, sit down, ask for a meeting or a phone call or whatever it might be, and talk to them about it. Okay? Fortune favours the brave and all that. So that is something I would really encourage you to do. Now, the other thing that is really worth you thinking about, and this might be if you've got to a point where you've hit a bit of a ceiling, or you're kind of plateauing and you're sort of moving along and you're thinking, where am I going with this job, this career? Or I really could use some help to take me to the next level. One big piece of advice that I would offer you is to look for a mentor. Now, some organisations are great in that they have mentor programs, and that might be mentors that are within the organization, or it might be that they actively help you look for mentors outside. But I'm sorry to say that these companies tend to be in the minority. So back to being proactive, okay? This is going to come back to you on your shoulders to have a think about, okay, do I need a mentor? Do I need someone to take me to that next level of my career? And this could be appropriate wherever you're at, you know, whether you're 20s, 30s, 40s. How am I going to get to that next level? So, seeking out a mentor. Now, I would say aim high. Don't limit yourself by who you think you might choose. Now, this again could be either within your organisation or it could be outside your organisation. Some very senior people are very willing to actually be a mentor for a younger person who they see has potential and talent. It's all about putting something back. So don't be afraid to approach somebody who you might think, oh God, he or she'll never want to give me the time of day or mentor me. Try it. Okay, if you don't ask, you don't get. So don't limit yourself. Go high, aim high, with a view that, you know, they may well want to work with somebody. Now, when you are thinking about a mentor, there are 3 things that I want you to think about: chemistry, trust, and respect. So obviously, chemistry, you've got to feel comfortable with the person. You've got to feel like you gel. There's got to be a rapport. You've got to trust them, because if you have mentor-mentee conversations, you've got to be 100% confident and sure that your integrity or your confidentiality is not going to be breached if you get into talking about, you know, tricky, sensitive, confidential things. So the trust is absolutely fundamental. And also you've got to trust that they're going to do what they say they're going to do and that they're going to honour the process. And obviously respect. You have got to fundamentally feel that this person has got stuff to teach you, all right? Has got real value and real worth, and they can really, really teach you and bring you on. So I would say bear those 3 things in mind: chemistry, trust, and respect. The mentor process, I always say, is very much suck it and see. You are going to get a sense of, whether it's working or not. And also you'll be wanting to think about how long you spend with your mentor. You know, so what's the time of the session? What's the frequency? You know, we're going to meet once a quarter, once a month, and that may depend whether they're internal or external. You know, where are we going to meet? And what's the agenda? You know, are we going to be unstructured or structured? And actually, how are we going to manage the feedback? There are a few things for you to consider when you get involved in a mentoring process. But I highly recommend it. As I say, it doesn't matter how senior you are right now, there's always somebody else who you can use as a sounding board. And it may not be somebody who is in the same industry even. It could be sort of a functional, you know, if you're in finance, it could be someone who's in finance in another sector. So be lateral, be creative, really think about who might be a good fit. The next thing I want to talk to you about is stay current. Now, what do I mean by stay current? If you like these YouTube videos, please do like and subscribe and do share them. So there's lots of pearls of wisdom coming out here, so I want to spread the word and build the community. So the next thing, keep current. What do I mean by that? Common sense, simple tip, but keep your CV or your bio up to date. I'm very fond of the little mantra, do it when you can, not when you have to. And keeping a CV updated is a very good example of one of those things. Because if you suddenly decide you want to go for a job and you think, oh Christ, I haven't touched my CV for months or years, you're going to have to dust it off, and then it's quite a daunting task to get it up to date. So I always say, when I was a headhunter, say to clients, keep your CV up to date. You will take yourself for granted. You will forget all the good things that you've done. So make sure things like, courses you've been on, skills you've learned, panels you may have spoken on, presentations or speeches, conference speeches, talks you've given, pieces of business you've won, projects you've worked on, teams you've helped, whatever it might be. CV is your sales document, so you don't want to undersell yourself. Make sure you keep that CV or that bio up to date. And a very good way of thinking about this, there are sort of two little questions I tend to ask people. For each job, how are you different from when you started that job? So, how were you at the beginning when you took the job over? And what are you like now in terms of the skills you've learned, the things you've done? And the second thing is, how is the role different? So how has that role changed? It may have grown. You may be responsible for more people, more territory, more clients, whatever. So keeping that CV up to date, okay? The second thing about staying current is know your worth. Now, I know this slightly makes you sound like a product or a commodity or something, but, that's life. Being aware of what your market worth is actually pretty important. I mean, we all know knowledge is power. And so if you have ever been approached by a recruiter or a headhunter, you might find it useful to have someone good in your back pocket that you could call or, drop them a line and just get a handle on, what is my level being paid at that competitor company? What's the salary they're paying? Because you always should be aware of what your market value is. Again, it's about being proactive. It's about when you go into an appraisal or a conversation where you are going to discuss pay and promotion, you need to have the facts at your fingertips, and you need to be able to say, well, actually, I know for a fact that so-and-so are paying 10 grand more. Be well armed when you go into those sorts of conversations. Next week, we will talk some more about other things that you can do in terms of career progression and managing your career. In the meantime, like and subscribe to the channel. Do visit the website, www.thesassygodmother.com. You can sign up for monthly Pearls of Wisdom. You get a little pearl drop in your inbox on the 1st of every month, and on Instagram at Sassy Godmother. So I'd be very interested to hear your comments on this. Is this something you do? Have you thought about getting in touch with a mentor? If so, what happened? Let me know. Write your comments. I'd love to hear from you. As always.